what I have come to realize is that the work that I needed to do to get out of chronic pain is the same work that leads you to be unblocked just generally. The same kinds of those, built up thought fragments, those emotions that I had not processed, they were responsible for my years of debilitating chronic pain that sent me to so many ER visits that probably, looking back, led me to take a lot of antibiotics that I didn't actually need to take, that very much jacked up my system and that I'm still kind of working my way out of. The chronic pain that I see a lot of you guys having, it has the same root as just that feeling of being blocked, that same feeling of writer's block when you sit down at a blank page. I think that the same mechanisms are behind those blocks as they are behind the aches and pains that, suddenly, when you get out of bed, it's like your whole body aches. I don't think that's just age nearly as much as you guys give it credit for. I think it is this. I think it's funds. I think it's jacked up nervous system. I think it's, your nervous system being completely out of whack because you don't release these unprocessed emotions. And I think that learning how to do this will really not only get you out of whatever pain you might be in. You'll be shocked. I promise you'll be shocked. But it will help you just be able to get your stuff done. Be able to use your blue flame. So I'm going to play one more clip before I detail the process, which is really, it's very simple. But so this is interesting. So I was listening to Nicole Sachs podcast, which is my new obsession. It's literally all I do in my life is listen to her podcast. I'm so obsessed. So this gal, Kimberly, she is a mom of 4, and she was telling a story that to me seems like such a God thing. Where Kimberly was, so she had encountered Nicole Sachs casually, and Nicole had a retreat, and it's for this process of learning JournalSpeak and learning how to get yourself out of pain and that sort of thing. But Kimberly didn't understand that. She thought it was a spa retreat. So she went and was so upset when she first got there. She's like, I don't know what this stupid, talking about journaling is. This is not what I signed up for. And she was actually planning to leave. But then she was like, all right, I can't leave right now. I'm already here. So she sat through one of Nicole's sessions. Listen to what happened next. Listen to this clip.
First day, I didn't get everything out. The second day, I'm like, go for it, Kimberly. I got everything out. I cursed my family. I cursed my husband out. I cursed my job out. And I did feel guilt. I'm like, oh God, you're a very angry person. But you know what? The more I did it, I was like, no, this stuff's been inside you. This doesn't mean you're angry. This is just thoughts. It's just feelings. You don't mean it.
Yes.
You got to get this stuff out. Nicole, my week at that retreat was the first week, I think, of my entire life where I had no chronic pain symptoms.
Amazing. Nothing.
We are now 2 months out. I'm off every medication. I know this is going to sound like a miracle story, and I do know how this happened, but I don't take stomach medication. I don't have migraines. I don't have back pain, neck pain. I don't need to go to my chiropractor. I was going to the chiropractor 3 days a week and getting hour-long massages. I don't do that anymore. I have nothing. When I get upset.
So that was Kimberly. So I forgot to say also, she had been in debilitating, non-functioning, massive, life-ruining, consuming her whole family's attention, really bad situation, chronic pain. And through this JournalSpeak stuff and just getting that out, it's just gone. It's just gone. She feels fine. And here's what's crazy. I had that moment with just feeling stressed generally. I've had that moment before with pain when I discovered the Dr. Sarno, Nicole Sachs. I've actually known about that for a little while, but I had this similar moment. You heard Kimberly getting choked up where I was just like, oh my gosh, I can let it be easy. And this is how, I've always been interested in that subject. I see how now. I see how to get in a flow state. I see how to actually really trust God, like with my whole body and my whole system, and not just give lip service to it. And this is a cool little bonus for the Catholic Ghetto. As I was listening to that episode with Kimberly telling that story and saying it felt like a miracle, I saw a billboard. I was driving from Indianapolis to Chicago, and I saw a billboard that said, Saint Dymphna is praying for you. It was not advertising anything. It wasn't like, hey, this is, we're raising money for the Saint Dymphna Foundation. It was just, Saint Dymphna is praying for you. Done. So I Googled, guess what she's the patron saint of? She is oh boy, wouldn't that be great if I had prepped the show? Oh, no, I did. Saint Dymphna. She is the patron saint of people with mental illness, neurological disorders, and emotional distress. And I randomly see that as I am listening to Kimberly talk about how like learning this process was a miracle. And I realized it does really feel like a miracle, and how, it seems very clear that God sent her to that retreat, like tricked her into going to that retreat. And seeing that Saint Dymphna thing was really like, yeah, it is so cool how God can work through, like he does create miracles. It might not just be the snap of the finger situation that you sometimes hear about. Maybe the miracle is like you listening to this podcast episode, or me, doing whatever it was that got me to refamiliarize myself with Nicole Sachs podcast. And by the way, that was episode, I forget. You can look it up on YouTube. We'll have a link in the show notes, but that was, again, we'll link to Nicole Sachs podcast, and you can look up the episode with Kimberly. But so that moment that Kimberly describes is what occurred to me when, after all of this, so my moment that happened was after all of this, I was at the airport, and, after the 3 shows in 3 days, flat tire, can't find my way off the stage. I messed up and told someone they could bring a baby, and then they couldn't bring a baby. I mean, it was a lot. And I get to the airport, and I felt physically terrible. I felt truly physically terrible, but I always do. I was like, you just feel bad. You just do. After that kind of grueling effort, it's just the way life is. And so then I found out that the flight was delayed 5 hours. I'm finally trying to go home. A blizzard hit Chicago. So it's like massive blizzard. So cold. The feels like temperature was 16. Plane couldn't get out of there. It's delayed 5 hours. So I did the JournalSpeak process. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get to it till the last 5 minutes again. Okay. The lesson is, next time I bring this up, I need to make it the whole episode, because I can't just hit you guys with it, or else you won't do it. I have to explain why it matters, but then we're in the last 5 minutes of the episode. Okay. Well, so I'm at the airport, and I was back to, feeling really inflamed, achy. I had a really bad backache, headache, sore throat. I felt extremely tired. I felt blocked. I felt frustrated. And then the big thing is, us moms know the concept of re-entry, where, when you come back from a vacation, it's this re-entry is a really difficult combination of, you are coming back from a trip, and so your family needs you more than ever, and you have less energy than ever to do anything for them. And that is what re-entry is, where you just feel that like, oh, I love you guys, but I can't. I'm so tired from this trip. I have nothing left to give. And so I was dreading re-entry. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do JournalSpeak, and I've been doing it every day, and it had already helped me on this trip. And once again, very late in the episode, JournalSpeak is this. The way I do it, it is, again, developed by Nicole Sachs. Just do her classes, read all her stuff. But the way I do it is I do a brain dump of everything that is stressing me out, even small things. I read back through that list, and I just see, like, when I read back through it, there's usually some things that stand out as like, okay, yeah, that's kind of stressing me out. And it is often the tiniest things. It'll be like, the gate agent seemed annoyed with me. Like, that should be the least of my problems, but for some reason it really bothers me when I look back and see that on the list. So you really do this thorough dump of the tiniest things that have stressed you out. You find the ones that stand out to you, even if they shouldn't. And then here's the key part. And Caitlin and I were talking about this after the last show. This is so key. The way I write it that helps me really go there is I will start the subject. Okay. The gate agent seemed annoyed with me about this subject. My thoughts are telling me. It is so important to do that phrasing, because if I just said the gate agent is stressing me out, here's what I think about that, all of the madness that would come out of my pen after that, I would block it, which is the whole problem. I would not let that stress come out. I would not let those emotions flow through because they sound crazy and they're not my real opinion. And so I don't want to put my own stamp of approval, so to speak, on that kind of crazy talk, because it could lead to, let's say, like in my case, I have some issues with just, feeling like I'll never fit in and people don't like me and they hate me and they think I'm worthless and they think I want to die, just because that was very specifically said to me by bullies in junior high every single day. That kind of thing can come up, but I don't believe that anymore. I really don't. But sometimes those thought fragments do still get caught in my mind. And as we talked about in the last episode, they will ping the nervous system with signals of danger. The gate agent seeming annoyed with me, even though she was not rude, it was just a vibe I got. But something in my mind connected it to these thought fragments of my you could say inner child. I know it sounds hippie, but it's like just some thought patterns that you used to have, that because they are associated with trauma, they're still there a little bit. And I don't want to say I'm worthless and no one likes me, because I really don't think that. So it would be hard for me to write that. But what I can write is my thoughts are telling me. My thoughts are telling me that I'm worthless and nobody likes me. And so it's just all of these irrational emotions that have just been stuck. They've just been stuck. And one of the reasons they have been stuck is because it felt inappropriate to acknowledge them. Because again, I'm a grown woman. I don't want to sit there and write about how I'm worthless and people are going to abandon me, because that's stupid and I know better than that. So I suppress them. But the name of the game with Nicole Sachs' JournalSpeak process is to let those irrational, silly, crazy emotions surface and just let them flow through. And so it's a very targeted journaling practice. That's another thing Caitlin and I were talking about, that journaling can sound really dumb, that people think it's like, dear diary, dear diary, I ate a sandwich and it didn't taste good. Yes, that's a waste of time. I would never like that. That does not serve you at all, I don't think. Think of JournalSpeak as it's like an archaeological dig. It's like an archaeological dig. You have a very targeted, very specific goal of the treasure that you're looking for in this archaeological dig is thought fragments, is emotions from kind of your inner toddler, irrational emotions that you have not let out because they're crazy or they're inappropriate or they're just kind of tough, or it's just, you just don't want to feel that. And here's the thing, they move through very quickly, very quickly. This is not about perseverating on bad things that happened. It's not about victim mentality of like, so-and-so hurt me and meh, meh, meh. It's not about that at all. It's about acknowledging, all right, so my thoughts are telling me that this reminds me of something that so-and-so did in your past. And my thoughts are telling me, I hate so-and-so. So-and-so is the worst. Like, I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. You let that emotion come up. You let it out. And then it just moves through. And in fact, if so-and-so is a person still in your life, you actually feel more positively about them because you just got out. You let your inner toddler kick and scream and have the temper tantrum of saying, I hate so-and-so. Let's say it's Bob, and you actually like Bob a lot. Bob is great. when you do your journal speak practice and you let your inner toddler say, you do the, my thoughts are telling me, I hate Bob, I hate Bob, I hate Bob, I wish Bob would die. Like, it's crazy. Again, you have to let yourself be crazy. So that's what my thoughts are telling me. And then you get it out, and then you breathe a sigh of relief, and you're like, okay, all right, wow, temper tantrum over. Okay. And just like after a toddler kicks and screams and throws their temper tantrum, the storm has passed and they feel better and there's peace and there's clarity. It's the same thing with you. And that's what this journal speak practice is. Again, it's a very targeted journaling practice that is like an archaeological dig where you are trying to find these hidden things and unearth them and bring them to light. And as soon as you bring them to the light of your the light of your conscious mind, as soon as you bring them to the surface, you will find the emotion releases and it just releases. Like that woman, Kimberly, in the clip we played from Nicole's podcast. She had almost like an instant healing from doing this, of just letting out. I loved how she said, she was like, I cursed my family, I cursed my job, and she let it out. Does she actually dislike her family? No, not at all. She was saying many times in the podcast, she loves her husband, she loves her family, but there were some thought fragments. Her inner toddler had to kick and scream and throw a temper tantrum about some stuck thoughts that were in there. And so in her archaeological dig, she unearthed a whole lot of stuff. And then you know what? Her pain went away. She got off meds for all of these like unexplained chronic pains. And by the way, I did find that is Nicole Sachs season 3, episode 55. It's really worth listening to. Season 3, episode 55 of Nicole Sachs' Cure for Chronic Pain podcast. So as I'm sitting there in the Chicago airport, after all of this, my flight is delayed by 5 hours. And I feel terrible, physically terrible. But I was like, well, you always do after, that's just how it is on tour. So I did 20 pages of journal speak, single spaced pages. Guys, I know that people were looking at me like, what is going on? Like, is like God beaming something? Like, how is this woman? Like, she's just writing and writing and writing. I did 20 pages. I did it in my iPad so that I can just hit delete. That's another thing Nicole talks about. You do not have to review this. You do not have to keep it, burn it, set it on fire, hit delete. It's all about release. This is not about holding on to anything. 20 single spaced pages. And again, it was stuff like the gate agent seemed annoyed with me. Okay, there's something there. I'm sensing in my archaeological dig. Oh, there's a skull. Okay, that's not just dirt. We found something here. So my thoughts are telling me, and I went into all that, and I just went through my little stressors of, I got lost going to my gate. Doesn't seem like that should be a big deal, but there was tension there. All right. What are my thoughts telling me? My thoughts are telling me, you're so stupid. You can't handle anything. This is like you not being able to get off the stage. There was something there. So I journaled all that. I went through all of my stressors, 20 single spaced pages. You guys, I sat there at gate 9, terminal 1, section B? Doesn't matter. Okay, so, I sat there at gate B9 in Chicago O'Hare Airport, and all of my pain was gone, and all of my stress was gone, and I was just in this place of like, I totally trust God with whatever happens here. God is with me. I felt closer to God than I have in years, because because I wasn't suffering from funds, because my nervous system wasn't screaming terror at me from all of these unprocessed thought fragments that had accumulated from my crazy trip. Because all that had been released, I could actually feel God. I could feel God with me. And it was like, you know what? I'll get home when I get home. And here is the bonus part. This is crazy. Reentry is always hard after that. Your family really needs you, and you don't have a lot to give because you're depleted. I actually came home to a pretty tough situation. There was something going on that was very difficult. It was very difficult, and it was a very triggering, in the classic sense of the word, situation. It was very hard. And I breezed through it in a state of calm. I gave everybody what they needed from me. I was like, we have all night. Just because my flight was delayed 5 hours after 3 shows in 3 cities in 3 days, where I had babies that I accidentally invited to the show that caused a huge problem, cars breaking down, stuck on stage. I am fully present for whatever you need. And the situation got completely resolved. If I had not done those 20 pages of JournalSpeak, I am telling you, that situation would have gone off a cliff. And that is not speculation. That is 100%. That is 100%. That situation would have unraveled because it was just a tough situation for me. And I'd been through so much. I had not been sleeping well. And it would have, to be honest, we're recording this a few days later. I actually think I would still be dealing with the fallout from it because I would have escalated and not reacted well and not been equipped to deal with it. As it was, everybody went to bed in peace and calm. My house was peaceful. My house was calm. And I realized as I went to bed after that trip, I was like, I just learned how to let it be easy. This is what it means to be in a flow state. This is what it means to really be able to sense that God is with you on a visceral level, not just an intellectual level, but a visceral level. This is what it means. This is what it means to be fully present in the present moment. All of this is made much more possible and much easier when you calm down your nervous system. And how do you calm down your nervous system? By releasing the thought fragments that are buried and are pinging your nervous system constantly with messages of danger. When you release them, they stop hitting your nervous system. You don't have funds anymore. And suddenly you're like, oh, there's God. He's right here. And I don't need to remind myself of that intellectually. I just know it viscerally. And you're like, oh, yes, no, I have time for that. I don't feel like I'm in a hurry. Sure. Yeah, let's have that difficult conversation on a really hard subject. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sure. No problem. So, heading into the holidays, Thanksgiving week, if you have ever listened to anything I say, just try it. And if you're not much of a writer, maybe do it with voice memos. I don't know if this works or not. It might. Try it and just delete the voice memo when you're done. But you can do it handwriting, you can type, it doesn't matter. But just list your stressors. For each one that seems to be something there, say, my thoughts are telling me, and then go. Just let it. Do not filter. What are your thoughts telling you? Let it take you to crazy places. Let it take you to places so crazy that you're like, I just hope I don't have a heart attack and die before I have a chance to delete this, because if anyone ever saw this, it would completely change what they think about me as a human being. You are about to be free from a lot of stress and pain. A lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of pain if you can get to that point in your JournalSpeak. So again, full credit to Nicole Sachs, Sachs. This is her method that she developed. All of the stuff that I'm talking about, I got from her. And that was just a crazy moment when, after that whole rigmarole of a tour schedule, I went to bed that night totally peaceful, totally confident. Oh, and another bonus is I had to get up extra early the next day for one of Pammy's cheer things. And normally I do not get up for anything the next day because I'm so wiped out. I can't, like, I'm about to die. I just can't. But Pammy really wanted me to do her hair for a cheer thing. Of course, I would not skip that. And I woke up the next morning. Normally I would have been losing my mind. I would have been like, I'm so freaking tired. Like, I'm so tired. I can't do this. I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. Blah, blah. Instead, I woke up like, oh, I got enough sleep. I can take a nap later. This is fine. And I was totally in a great mood with Pammy and, chatting with the other kids and telling them about how the tour went. It was just bliss. It was just peace and bliss in my house. And it was all because I learned to let it be easy by getting rid of funds and releasing my stuck thought fragments that were sending subconscious, insane danger messages to my nervous system. So, all right, it wasn't the last 5 minutes of the show that we got to the JournalSpeak process, but try it, guys. Thanksgiving, this is the time. This is the time. If you're hosting Thanksgiving and you're stressed, I'm telling you, listen to your friend Jen. I would not steer you wrong. It's like, change my life. You got to do this. Join the Patreon as a way to say thank you. You're like, Jen, you changed my life. I'm not even going to look at your content. I'm just joining your Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen, and we will be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.